and let's see where it takes us. The title of my lesson simply is Waiting Builds Strength. I want to start out by telling you a story about a study that was done in the 1960s. A psychologist brought a bunch of little kids into a room one by one. He set them down at a table. He put a marshmallow in front of them. He said, "You can eat this now, or if you wait 15 minutes without touching it, I'll come back and give you 2. Then he walked out. Some kids popped the marshmallow in their mouth before the doors even shut. That had been my kids. Others squirmed, sang songs, stared at the ceiling, anything to keep themselves distracted. A few of them actually waited. But years later, the researchers followed up on these kids. The ones who waited, you see, they did better in school. They're more likely to finish college. They stayed healthy. They built strong relationships, you name it. But it wasn't because they were smarter, because they learned how to wait. I'm here to tell you this morning, that's a big deal. It's not just psychology, that's Scripture. James 1:4 says, "Let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." Habakkuk 2:3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end of it shall speak and not lie. Through it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry." You see, the Bible connects waiting with maturity. Because I think it goes deeper than that. Waiting shapes our witness. Because how you wait tells the world who you trust. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I'll be honest, I haven't always liked this lesson. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. I've had seasons in my life where I felt stuck, nothing was moving, everything in me wanted to push forward. But the more I walk with God, the more I realize He doesn't show up in the breakthrough. He builds something in the waiting. And if we skip that part, we skip the strength that God's trying to grow in us. That's why this session is called Waiting Builds Strength. Because I don't just think it's about personal growth. I think it's about our testimony as the people of God. You see, when we lose that strength of wait, we lose the kind of faith that endures. We lose something that's vital, something our culture desperately needs to see in us. So today we're going to talk about what happens when we forget how to wait and how God can help us to get it all back. You see, I want to be real with you. I'm not good at waiting, not at all. We aren't good at waiting. Most of us don't realize how much we've been trained not to wait. And yes, I'm preaching to the choir on this one for sure. I've had some times when I'm praying for something serious, and while I'm waiting for God, I'm also checking to see if I got a PO or a quote request or refreshing my emails. We're used to things showing up fast. If it takes more than a couple of days, we start getting anxious. I was thinking this morning, I have a customer that every time I quote something, I'll tell them 3 to 4 days. Every time. Okay, I get the PO. Their response that day, "Hey, where's my stuff at?" I'm like, "Dude, you got to breathe. Everything, it takes time." No, I'm not saying convenience is a sin. I'm thankful for a grocery delivery, online banking, thankful for HEB delivery. But I'm saying convenience has rewired us. It's made us impatient. And if we're not careful, we'll make it as we're impatient with God. There was a time when people knew how to wait because they had to. They planted seed, they waited for rain. If you were in love, you waited for marriage. If you wanted something, you worked, you saved, and you prayed. But see, somewhere along the way, we traded patience for pressure. We want everything now. We don't want to feel comfortable while we wait. But here's the thing, God doesn't grow people through shortcuts. Galatians 6:9 says, "So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up." When we lose the ability to wait, we don't just lose patience, we lose godliness. You don't believe that? Go to the airport. We lose our witness. The world is already running itself ragged But if we, the people of God, move with the same frantic pace, what hope, what peace, what difference are we showing them? You see it everywhere. We don't wait in line, we pre-order. We don't save, we finance. We don't build relationships, we rush intimacy. If something takes longer than we expected, we assume something's wrong. But you see, God doesn't run on our timeline. At the moment we start rushing process, we stop trusting the one who designed it. Impatience isn't just a personality quirk, it's a spiritual hazard. I've caught myself scrolling through my phone in the middle of a conversation or refreshing my email to see what comes in next. Not because I meant to, just because my brain wanted something else to focus on. Random, but I actually have a rule when I'm at home and I'm on my phone working and somebody walks up to talk to me, my wife or the kids, I'll stop and put my phone away and I turn it up, down. And I've seen my kids, and Maggie, that's Daddy, why do you do that? And I said, because I want to give you 100% of my attention. Well, Dad, your phone's ringing. I understand, but you're most important right now. And it was very hard for me to do because I'm trying to talk and look and listen, and you're just not doing that. You're showing what it's important to you while you're doing that. And again, it was hard for me to learn. That constant stipulation makes us allergic to boredom. If you don't believe that, meet Judah. But if you know what I've learned, boredom isn't a problem, it's an invitation. It's in the quiet where God starts talking. I found a quote, it didn't say who it was from, but it says, when you can't hear God in the noise, it's not that He's silent, it's that He's whispering, waiting for us to be still. Some of the biggest things God's ever said to me didn't happen in a revival or a blowout service. It happened while I was being still at the gym by myself, or on a walk, or in the deer stand, or driving without music. I know, shocker, that's possible. But most of us don't give Him that space anymore. We feel every pause, every space, then wonder why we're spiritually exhausted. Can I just say it plain? Our culture has lost the ability to wait in love. Everything is rushed. Intimacy is rushed. Trust is rushed. Growth is rushed. We want it all now. The world says if you feel it, act on it. The Bible says something different. 1 Corinthians 13:4 says love is patient. Real love doesn't demand instant results. It's willing to wait. It's willing to work. And that kind of love shows up more than just romance. In parenting, it looks like slowing down to shape your kid's heart, not just their behavior. In friendship, it means staying when things aren't convenient, giving people time to grow. In leadership, it means not forcing outcomes. That's hard. But walking with people through the process. You see, when we rush people, we treat love like a shortcut to feeling good, and we miss the whole point. Love without patience becomes selfish. But love learns to wait, and that's where formation happens. And we learn to love like that in our homes, in our churches, in our conversations, and the people we deal with we look at the world in a different way. Because in a culture that expects everything now, patient love becomes a testimony all by itself. Sometimes I look around and see, even in church, we started rushing things. We pack a schedule. We have 3 songs, preaching, offering. We shorten the altar time. We move on before God's even done speaking. I've never seen God move just because we stayed on schedule. Last night, God reminded me, one of my favorite memories as a young man at TAC. I remember just lingering at the altar by myself one morning, not wanting to end. Eventually, by myself, others moved on. I remember they were having conversations. People were talking. And quietly, and almost no fanfare, God showed up. I remember sitting, praying, crying. Brother Cisco came, put his arm around me. He didn't say a word. He just held me. He just prayed, but oh, did God speak that day. I've seen Him move when people got desperate and waited on Him like He was the only answer, like Jacob and the angel. You see, He basically said, I'm not letting go until my situation changes. Through people who are willing to linger in His presence without needing fireworks or production, they have a relationship with God. Those people should be your heroes, your mentors, your influencers. I tell my girls all the time, that's who you need to be like. And I tell you right now, I don't want my kids growing up thinking church is where we hurry through God. I want them to know that church is where we slow down for Him, because that's what gives us strength. That's what set us apart. Waiting doesn't mean you're behind. Doesn't mean you've missed it. Sometimes it just means God's still working and He's not done with you yet. But if you keep rushing through everything, trying to fix it fast, avoid the discomfort, skip the quiet, make it happen. That's what I do. But you're going to miss that He's trying to build in us, and we'll miss what He wants to build through us. You see, I don't want to be the kind of man who needs everything to happen now. I want to be the man who can wait, because the trust of one I'm waiting on. And I want to live in that way that shows others that they can trust Him too. Be an example in your life. Be an example in your family. Let me tell you a story in my own life, a time when I was ready to move. I was ready to move doors. I was ready to make things happen, and God told me to wait. You see, Kristen was pregnant with our third child, Ellie. It was a high-risk pregnancy. We were seeing a specialist so exclusive, a doctor, that we had to apply just to become his patients. Our insurance covered it, thank the Lord. But we couldn't afford to lose it. At the same time, I started feeling like something wasn't right at my job. I didn't have proof. I just started suspecting that the leadership, men who used to serve God, honestly, used to go to church, were into something shady, insider trading, embezzlement, something. I remember telling Kristen, I said, I'm in sales, and all I've got is my name, and if I stay here much longer, I'm going to lose it. So I started looking for a job quietly, carefully. I didn't want to get fired while my wife was on bed rest, but nothing was opening up. And I talked to everybody. I applied everywhere. I shook every tree. I tried to make it happen. I admit it. And I started to get impatient. I was even offered a few jobs, but nothing was right. I remember one guy was like, it's perfect. I remember telling Kristen, I'm gone for 2 weeks out of the month all over the world. And she's like, no, you have little kids. That's not right. And Kristen reminded me, God, it was always open the right door at the right time, she said. Maybe we're trying to make something happen instead of trusting Him. And maybe this isn't just the best time to move anyway. So we waited. A few weeks later, I went to pick up groceries, and while I was out, I got a strange call through a business friend of mine. He said, I need to see you at Starbucks tomorrow. The next day I met him. And without even explaining, he said, I think you should come to work for me. Then he took me to meet his president, the VP, the CEO, you name it. You know, I sat there thinking this is going to be an interview, but it wasn't. They were trying to sell me on their company. And I finally raised my concerns, my truck, our expenses, my wife's doctor. They stopped me. The president leaned in. I'll never forget this. He said, first of all, we know your wife's pregnant, and we know who your doctor is. They mentioned him by name. I found out later they'd hired a private investigator to check me out before they even reached out. Then he said something I'll never forget. He said, all your problems you're mentioning, all of your issues, can it be fixed by me writing a check? And I'll be honest, I laughed out loud. I said, not by me writing the check. But he said, can they be fixed by a check? I said, yeah, well, in a quiet voice, I said, I guess. He said, then it's not a problem. And right there in the moment, he turned to someone, he said, get him an insurance starting tomorrow. And this is 3 months before I even started. Not only did they not wait for me to wrap things up from my old job, they overnighted insurance cards. We didn't lose anything, not a doctor, not a paycheck, not a step. You see, that's what waiting on God does. If I had pushed it, if I had rushed it, if I had made it happen, I'd have messed it all up. But you see, when God does it, God doesn't miss a detail. And I'm telling somebody today, if you'll wait on Him, He'll move in a way that no man can take credit for it. Because the way you wait matters. It doesn't just shape your life, it shapes your witness. Sometimes the strongest things you can do is stand still and trust the one who sees it all. So what happens when we stop waiting well? What's really at stake if we keep living like everything has to happen now? We lose more time. We lose strength. We lose wisdom. We also lose something sacred, our ability to walk with God at His pace and to show the world what it looks like to trust Him. And to show our kids that too. You see, clarity is often the first thing lost when we cease waiting. You see, rushing clouds your judgment. It'll make you say yes to things that God never told you to touch just because you're tired of sitting still. I've been there. When you're anxious and desperate, even the wrong doors look like a right one. You just want a door. You just want to move. You just want to make something happen. But when you slow down and you make room for the Holy Ghost to speak, He'll show you what's real and what's not. Isaiah 30:18 says, "Blessed are they that wait for Him." You see, that blessing includes direction, protection, includes peace. It's just not about getting what you ask for. It's about knowing what's worth asking. You see, I've been back in the gym this year. At first, it was hard. I'll be honest, I didn't see any change. I worked very hard at it. The scale barely moved, if at all. My clothes still fit the same. But you know what? I kept going. Day after day, week after week, I never stopped. And now, months in, I'm finally seeing results. I've lost weight. I feel stronger. I'm even close to needing a new wardrobe. But none of that happened overnight because strength is always a slow build. But you see, I'm a people watcher, and I see folks at the gym, some in really tough shape. Some carrying lots of extra weight. And sometimes I wish I could tell them, hey, you're not going to fix this in a week or even a month, and some even a year. But I want to tell them you can change, but you've got to be patient. You didn't get here overnight, and you won't leave overnight. But it's worth it if you just keep showing up. You see, that's what spiritual waiting is like too. God allows pressure. He allows resistance in our lives, not to punish us, but to build spiritual muscle. We ask Him to make us stronger. I've been guilty of this, but we run from the wait. We run from the process. Isaiah 40:31 says, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength." Not they that hustle, not they that fix it fast, not they that make it happen, guilty. They that wait. And just like the gym, you don't receive results all at once. But if you keep showing up, one day you'll look back and realize, I'm not who I used to be. And the people around you will notice too. And let me say this carefully because it matters. Some of us don't feel close to God, not because He left, because we stopped sitting still long enough to hear Him. He's right where you left Him. He speaks in the stillness. He moves in the quiet places. But if we fill every minute with noise, tasks, distractions, we'll never know what it's like to know Him the way He wants to be known. You don't want to build a relationship by rushing through the room. You build it by being present, by listening. Psalms 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." You know, I read that over and over this week, but you understand that's not just a reminder, it's a warning, it's direction. If we stop waiting, we don't just lose our peace, we lose our connection with God. And when we lose that, we just don't lose something for ourselves, we lose something on our witness and our family and our kids and our legacy. Because the world needs to see what it looks like for somebody to walk with God and stays close. You see, that's what's at stake. Not just delayed blessings, but delayed becoming. Because sometimes what we're waiting on isn't the problem. Sometimes the problem is who we're becoming while we wait. Waiting didn't always feel this hard. Our great-grandparents didn't expect instant answers, instant meals, instant results. They understood that good things took time. But somewhere along the way that changed, and it didn't happen all at once. In the 50s, credit cards showed up. Buy now, pay later became a lifestyle. Then came microwave dinners, drive-thrus, remote controls, then the internet, smartphones. I still miss my Razor. I love the flip phone. I miss it. It was great. And with every upgrade, life got easier, but our tolerance for waiting got weaker. And now we don't just enjoy convenience, we expect it. We demand it almost. We don't wait for food, we tap a screen. We don't wait in silence, we scroll. We don't wait to learn, we ask Siri, we ask Google, AI, Chat GPT. And slowly, without realizing it, we stop asking, is this wise? And started asking, how fast can I get it? But spiritual formation doesn't work like that. You can't Amazon Prime maturity. But what science tells us, every time we get something instantly, our brain releases dopamine, a feel-good chemical. And just like any habit, the more we feed the reward loop, the more we expect it. So when you don't get what you want right away, it's not just frustrating, it's uncomfortable. Our brains have been trained to expect ease. It makes real life slow, sacred, sometimes silent feel foreign. It feels awkward. You're like, this is not right. I don't feel good. I need to change things. I need to do something. I need to turn something on. I need to watch something. I need to see something that accomplish something. And I'm guilty. I'm talking to myself this morning. But spiritual life happens in the quiet place. It means if you want to be formed into Christ's image, you've got to retrain our minds to be okay with slow. You see, back in the day, you'd watch a show, everything wrapped up in 22 minutes. Conflict, crisis, lesson, resolution, nice and tidy. But after a while, that format started to shape us. Started thinking, if it's not resolved quickly, something's wrong. We see, God doesn't work on sitcom timelines. He's not trying to entertain us. He's trying to transform us. And I'm here to tell you, transforming takes time. That's why real stories, God's stories, don't skip the waiting. The Bible's full of them. Joseph had dreams, then spent 10 years in prison. David was anointed king, then he ran for his life. Jesus himself waited 30 years before preaching a sermon. God's not slow, but he's not in a hurry either. He's like Judah, he takes his time. When we try to rush the process, we miss the point. And the world is watching us. They miss the point too. Culture tells us if it feels good, do it. If it takes too long, it's not for you. If we stop practicing restraint, it's called freedom. If it didn't lead to peace, it led to burnout. But it did not lead to peace. It led to burnout. Even love got rushed. Our faith got superficial. Even prayer turned into a transaction. Just a box you want to check every day. We made it this life, this speed, but we're made to walk with God. And God walks. He doesn't sprint. If we want to reflect on Him in the world, we have to slow down long enough to walk with Him again. So the question is, how do we get it all back? If waiting is strength and we've lost it, how do you rebuild it? Let me give you a few ways that we can start practicing right now in our daily lives. I know life is busy. I promise you, I'll trade phones with you. My phone rings at 6 o'clock in the morning, so sometimes 7. Most of us don't have hours to sit in silence every day. But here's the thing, stillness doesn't have to be long to be holy. It needs to be intentional. Start small. Take 5 minutes in the morning to sit with no phone, no noise, no pressure to perform. Just be with God. Invite Him to the silence. Ask Him questions and sit and wait for the answer. It's hard to do. It feels uncomfortable at first. But I've done it, and you watch how God will speak to you. I've had moments in the car like that, walking through a neighborhood or just sitting with my coffee in the morning. And sometimes those quiet moments end up changing everything. That's where the strength starts, in the stillness. You see, waiting isn't a side theme in the Bible. It's everywhere. You see it in Abraham, Joseph, Moses, David, Jesus. You see it in the Psalms and the prophets in the early church. God's people always had to wait. And not one of them waited in vain. But you don't see that unless you're in the Word. And if all we feed is fast content, then we forget that God's timeline really looks like. So I challenge you to dig into the Word slowly, prayerfully. You know, if you've talked to anybody too, I tell everybody, don't, because somebody else reads the Bible that way doesn't mean you have to do it that way. It's like a diet. You have to find out what works for you. if it's an app, if it's a devotion, if it's an audible book. If you talk about a car, he doesn't read a lot. He listens a lot. And there's a lot of really cool audible books. I found one it's almost like dramatized. It's great. But it's all about what you ingest. And like I try to do it daily, but several times a week. I'll put a timer, 30 minutes, and I'll start an audible Bible. It's a New Testament that I listen to, because you are what you ingest. And if you're negative, if you're fighting problems, if you're constantly struggling, stop for 30 minutes and, you know what, I'm driving, I'm doing this, and I'm going to just listen to the Bible. And you watch how that night you'll want to listen to it again, and what happens next in the story, and you watch how that, and it takes time. It's not it's not a fast build, it's a slow, but you watch and you give it 6 months, and you watch how it'll retrain you, how it'll change you. So dig into the word slowly, that's a word, slowly, prayerfully, but let it reset our expectations. Let it show you how God moves. And when we align our hearts with His rhythm, it shows. People can tell when somebody's walking at God's pace instead of the world. So you ever seen somebody that really, you just know they walk with God. Nothing distracts them. Nothing gets them in a hurry. They're smiling. They even drive slow, most of them. That's just how they are. They don't get, I used to watch Bishop McLean, and we go to the deer stand, and he just takes his time, and he's cleaning his shoes. I'm like, we're going to the deer stand. You got to clean your shoes. And I go and I'd catch him, and we take him out of the deer stand, and he's crying, and I look at his gun. He never unloaded his gun. He just prayed the whole time. He stopped. He was with God. Those are those things that builds, that matters. In our conversations, in our parenting, in our prayers, start catching yourself in what you're pushing hard for quick results. Ask, am I trying to fix something that God wants to grow? Am I rushing someone who needs time to heal? Am I expecting fruit in a season meant for planting? Again, and am I making this happen? God doesn't rush. We can't carry God along. You can't move Him. You can't hurt Him. You can't make it happen. When we stop rushing, we take back our strength. We set down the weight that was never ours to carry, and we rise. You'll get up, not burdened, but unstoppable. We also start showing the people around us that peace looks like. Be that example of consistency to your family, to your loved ones. You see, that's a part of our witness too, being that kind of person who's calm in a world of frantic. I heard a podcast a while back, and it stuck with me, as a Levi Morgan. He's a professional archer, and they ask him, because they always talk about Levi Morgan, and when they talk about him, they talk about how at the most pivotal moments, at the time where everything is hinging on one shot, they say he's cool, calm, and collected, like nothing just gets him. And they'll tell him, Levi, sometimes it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and all the prize money hinges on one shot. How do you manage that immense pressure? And he revealed one time, he said he had a coach that taught him. He says, you have to treat those situations as if you're in a house, and your house is on fire, and you have to get your family. But the only way to get out is to walk and not run. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is just show up again tomorrow. Keep praying, keep serving, keep believing. You may not feel the change right away. You may not see the breakthrough yet, but strength doesn't come through intensity. It comes from consistency. Isaiah 40 doesn't say that we sprint will renew your strength. It says those that wait. That means we just keep coming. Even when it's quiet, even when it's hard, even when it takes longer than we thought. And people notice that kind of endurance. That's how legacy is built. That's how spiritual maturity is formed. Maybe you're in a waiting season right now, waiting on a promise, a job, a healing, waiting on restoration. Can I encourage you? Can I encourage you? You're not falling behind. You're not forgotten. God has not missed you. He has not forgotten about you. You're being formed. You're in the process. You see, God knows what He's doing. And if you'll stay with Him in the waiting, He'll give you more than you ask for. Because in His kingdom, waiting isn't wasted. It's weight training. And when you walk that path long enough, people will start to ask how you got so strong. And you'll be able to tell them, I waited on the Lord. I heard a motivational speaker this week, Ed Milet, the author of a book titled One More. He tells a story about his father dropping him off at baseball practice. His father weeping. He tells his son, I'm trying to get sober one more time. So he said, I'm going to try it one more time. The story goes, this father comes back a month later from rehab, and the son runs to his father, and he asks him, he says, Daddy, are you never going to drink again? I can't stop thinking about the father's response. He tells his son, I said, I don't know if I can ever not drink again, but what I can tell you, I'm just not going to drink for one more day. And he kept stacking those one more days for years and years and years. As I close, I'm asking you this morning to wait one more day. I'm asking you to try one more day. I'm asking you to pray one more day. I'm asking you to talk to God for one more day. I'm asking you to wait for one more day. I love each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for putting up with me. Anybody comments hard? Thank y'all so much. Jake's not here to fill in, so one of y'all's got to speak up. So.